Welcome to the KIPS Personal Trainer Application Podcast. My name is Tyler Valencia, and I'm the president of KIPS and Time to Train Fitness. We are continuing on our YouTube content with today's episode. I'm calling it part 2 of talking about YouTube. And today we have Jason Cohen. He is, I'm going to call him the producer of Cohen Fitness on YouTube. They have a monetized channel. And today, Jason is going to talk about the ins, the outs, the strategy, all that kind of stuff that us fitness pros can take away and hopefully apply right away. That's going to be the goal of this episode. So first of all, Jason, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. This is an exciting topic that you and I were both very excited to get going with. And the first question I have for you, and this is kind of just to set the tone for the rest of the episode. Can you kind of explain in a nutshell what it is that you do for the show?
I started off as just practicing video skills because it was something that I just picked up. I just picked up a camera when Kaylee wanted to start putting a YouTube class on YouTube for her mom. Mm-hmm. So I just started practicing with a camera, learning a camera on YouTube, and from there, now I'm the video, the creative director, the producer, mm-hmm. the strategist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's constantly growing, more responsibilities as we go. So
nice. With picking up a camera, and I'm guessing it started kind of as a hobby too, that you want to get into a new area. Was there any type of research that you did when you first started off with, like, okay, I'm going to look at this camera, or maybe this microphone? Was there any utilization of, we'll say, YouTube in that process?
Yeah, definitely. YouTube was the first place that I went to learn how to use a camera. From there, I'll go back from there a little bit. Mm-hmm. I grew up skateboarding, and in the community of skateboarding, you start early on, filming tricks and learning cameras. So I had a very little bit of experience growing up using a camera. We had the old VCR or VHS cassette, video camera that you put mm-hmm. on your shoulder. Mm-hmm. So we started with those, and then from there we would edit, using 2 VCRs. You hit play on one and you hit record on the other. And that's how you make your little trick edit, right?
Nice.
So I've had that kind of eye for good video and what kind of makes a story along there. So then my son, Eli, when he was 5, he picked up a skateboard, and I thought, well, being 40 years old, let's get back on a skateboard and see how much damage I can do to myself. So he got really into it. So that's why I actually purchased a camera at that point. And I just got a basic entry level, mirrorless camera. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what we started on. So YouTube, going back to that, YouTube is the best place to learn and research that gear.
Nice. With when you guys started, so for those of you that hopefully have listened to the first episode, now tuning in for this one, I'm actually a fan of the channel. I follow, I subscribe, and I'm trying to think of how many workouts I've done. I've taken quite a few of the workouts, the cycling workouts, and for listeners, I will say definitely go subscribe. It's not only can you learn a lot of what they're doing, and you could see the effort that they put into it, but it's just quality rides, high quality in terms of the workouts, but then you see the cameras, the different angles, the lighting, all of this stuff. You're like, wow, that's a production. And it's great to hear that. I mean, these are things that you're learning and you're adjusting, all that kind of stuff with producing this show now. So I know that you guys have built a bigger set, and the way that I said it on the first episode, that you guys are all in on it. What do you feel like is the hardest part of developing, producing a high quality YouTube workout?
The hardest part is the time that it takes to learn, the time that it takes to, produce the videos. Mm-hmm. I still work a full-time job. So now I'm working 2 full-time jobs, mm-hmm. Doing this, and I wouldn't say it's work. It's a passion. I really enjoy it. It's very rewarding in that aspect as well. So, time is the biggest part. I commute to work every day an hour. So that time is spent listening to podcasts, learning marketing, business, learning video production, learning all this audiobooks, podcast. And then I come home and yeah, it was watching lots and lots of YouTube
Nice.
within the fitness industry and outside in different
Mhm.
niches too, and seeing what they're doing as well.
Yeah, I can also say that that's something that I picked up on too. Is just watching stuff outside of the fitness industry on YouTube. Is if you find a channel uh, that has a ton of subscribers, they're probably doing something. So I'll say right, they're doing something that other people have picked up on and that enjoy watching it too. It's entertaining for them, and you're like, wow, that's a good idea. How can I take that and apply that into my own channel? With YouTube now, that's one of the pieces that when I talk about it, whether I'm lecturing about it or telling somebody, like, have you thought about it? And the joke, or even just the sad part, I'll say, is that many fitness people do not still believe in YouTube, the power of it for a business. With posting a video now, that is one of the things that I know that in lectures I've done on YouTube, I'll spend quite a bit of time just talking about the basics of it with the admin side. And so using YouTube Creator Studio, how did you learn some of those aspects with what you should be utilizing on the tags and all that kind of stuff? Is it again YouTube?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was a lot of YouTube right away,
Mhm.
and there's so much um, good free value on YouTube to begin
Yeah.
with. Once we monetized, and I wanted to take it to that next level, um, and I'm going to throw a little plug in here too, so my
Mhm.
apologies, but um, I did the video creators video labs with Tim Schmoyer,
Okay.
and he's a big YouTube growth channel on YouTube. Let's see, we should take a sip of water every time we say YouTube here. Um, so I did the video labs and I learned actually quite a bit as far as, creating engaging titles and thumbnails to learning how to, what analytics to look at in YouTube Studio, um, storytelling, which is one of my other passions as well. I'm not good at it, but I really enjoy a good story,
Hmm.
and how that applies to a fitness video as well. But yeah, so that was the next step that I kind of took. And once we completed that class, that's when um, we completed that, I think in 2020, like summer of 2020. And then on top of, the COVID lockdown, we saw additional growth off of that.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Can you actually go more into that with the storytelling within a workout video? Because I think that that's actually something very interesting to hear about.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, so during the course, it was really easy for when we got into the storytelling and the different types of stories, the 3-part story, the hero's journey. It was really easy to look at what we do as fitness creators and say, well, this doesn't apply to me. We're not going to be telling a story during a workout. No one wants to hear that. They want to lift or they want to cycle or they want to do whatever they want to do. Um, but when you dissect those stories and you look at what makes a good story and the tension and then the resolve and the transformation, those parts apply to to anything, whether you're watching a tutorial or a review on a product or a fitness video. Um, so learning how Kaylee teaches a class and then what I can do in post to create more tension to those working parts. And then how can I add resolve at the end of that working part? And then how can I emphasize or supplement the transformation at the end during the cool down? That's what I'm really trying to perfect to create an engaging um, video that
Mhm.
people want to watch.
Nice, nice. That's really fascinating to hear, Jason. And it's one of those things where it's that extra effort. It's not just, I'm going to hit record and I'm going to see what happens. It's that extra effort that I feel like top YouTubers talk about if they're putting out content about how to grow your channel. They are putting out content that is well prepared. It's taking hours for them to put it out. And I think those are the videos that you see, wow, there's a reason why this one has thousands and thousands, if not millions, of views on it. When you're posting now, can you kind of talk, we'll say, listeners through that process, just some of the basics that you're going through? Because that's, again, it's such a basic part of it, but it's a fundamental that you're going through all the different steps. It's not just, okay, I uploaded it and I'm going to hit next, 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 and then publish at the end. Can you talk the listeners through that process?
Yeah. So I think a big mistake that we even made when we started this was we put more effort into the actual posting phase on YouTube, where we were typing up a title and we were filling out the description, the tags, and all that stuff. Where we saw a lot of the growth afterwards was when we redirected that attention to the planning phase. And what I mean by that is, if you don't do the planning phase in the beginning, what you're going to do is you're going to film a workout, and then you're going to try to optimize that video for an algorithm instead of planning the video for a human, right? So what we do in the beginning is we talk about the type of video that we want to create, and we talk about who the target audience is, what the value proposition is, and we plan our thumbnail and title first. Once we get that, so the very first thing that a viewer is going to do is they're going to click on the video, or you want to get that click. So we spend a lot of time planning out the title and thumbnail combo, and then from there we plan the workout. And then the rest, the publishing to YouTube, just becomes easy because you already know what your video is about and who it's for. So yeah, even the way YouTube has changed over the years, the tags don't even really mean anything anymore. The only reason I actually put tags in is because I use a tool called vidIQ. And during the upload phase, I don't know why I keep doing this, but there's a little SEO score. And I try to get 100 every time, even though I know that the tags don't mean anything. The tags are just there for common misspellings. So Kaylee's name is commonly misspelled there. So I could use the tags for that. But yeah, redirecting that attention to the planning phase is very important.
I love it. I love it. That's something that with one of my channels, with my company Time to Train, I'm talking with my instructors whenever they have an idea. My initial question or my statement to them, okay, let's work on an outline. If you need help with your outline, I'm here for you. Let's work on all the preparation for it. And it's, again, one of those things that it creates a high quality video at the end. And I love how you said that everything just kind of falls into place after, because you already know what you're going to be talking about in your description. You know all of these questions that are going to pop up on YouTube when you're going through the process of posting it. And it's, instead of trying to guess, like, okay, what? And I like how you stated that you're, instead of trying to essentially trick an algorithm, you are thinking about the person on the other end. And I think that part also goes into the community building. One of the big things that you want from a YouTube video is the engagement, whether it's a like or it's another subscribe or hopefully a comment. You want that type of engagement. And if you are not thinking about the end user, you're thinking about an algorithm, it's going to be hard, because
absolutely,
a computer's not going to respond to it, but an individual that you planned for, you're going to hopefully have a higher chance for that. And I like that way of thinking about it. So let's talk now about the preparation and the set design and all that kind of good stuff with doing all these items. And that's one of the items that when I talk to fit pros, sometimes I hear them say, well, I'm not going to do this for a YouTube channel, or I'm not going to, even ones that have been doing streaming online, they don't want to take the time to rearrange their living room or potentially make a streaming space. What was your guys' thought process as when I was originally started following your channel? There was great lighting. There was different camera angles, and there was a designated spot for filming. And now with you guys having, I call it a set because it looks fantastic. What was your thought process with upgrading it and trying and making even a bigger set with it?
Yeah, I mean, once we, actually, it was probably before we monetized on YouTube that we started looking at this as a business, and not necessarily that we're growing our business on YouTube, but we're using YouTube to grow our business at this point. And it was very apparent early on that with Kaylee's, she's sensational on camera. I don't know any other word to say other than she's sensational. And and the value that she brings was apparent early on. But once we monetized, we started just reinvesting that into the gear, into courses, into the room. So luckily, we were in a place where we were able to reinvest and continue doing that as much as we could. So the first studio that we had, or the first room, was our exercise room. We bought a bunch of workout equipment used here in Dubai,
Mm-hmm.
and we kind of made that space. It wasn't necessarily intended to be for filming. So we had, a big sliding glass door where light was coming through. So we had to plan our filming times around, sunrise or sunset to keep the rays from coming through. We got, cheap LED lights. We were using, in one of them, we were using my phone as one of the camera angles. So you can make it work with whatever gear you have available. And there's cheap options out there, but we just kept picking one thing every month and improving it. And we got to the point where we knew we were going to be live streaming, and I had to have a desk set up in the same space where I could have hardwired to all the cameras, be able to see what Kaylee was doing. And we knew that we needed a new space for that. So when it came time to move, we started looking at other places specifically for the studio first, and then everything else after.
I love it. I love it a lot, especially with having a dedicated workspace for it. Something that's going to look professional, that people are going to appreciate when they see it and recognize the hard work that you guys are putting into it. So I got a question now that it's one of the ones that I get when I go on different shows or podcasts, or when people interview me for talking about tech stuff. It's about my setup and how I do some of the items with streaming or with filming. Can you, because we're going to separate it now, because now that you guys are doing live streaming, I'm going to have a question for that as well. But when you guys are just doing a workout video that you're going to be posting to YouTube, can you kind of explain the gear you're utilizing and as in depth as you can with it?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you add photos into the show notes for these?
I can't, but we can.
Yeah, okay. I'll send you a picture of my setup too,
Yes.
so supplement the story here. So yeah, basically, I have three. I started with little APS-C mirrorless cameras, which are entry-level mirrorless cameras with interchangeable lenses that have HDMI out or micro HDMI out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started with Sony, and I'm still on Sony, so you can call me a Sony fanboy if you like. But so I started with those. Very simple, really great image straight out of the camera. Learned all that from YouTube. So now we're up to three cameras. We have the three cameras. We have a wireless lav mic system, the audio mixer, and then the editing software. That's basically what we use for the pre-recorded rides.
Mm-hmm. With the microphone now, that's something that actually you guys left a comment on one of our videos with a suggestion. Can you explain why you guys chose that microphone? Because it might be different than what a lot of instructors are used to using. Can you explain your process for this one works for us?
Yeah. So at the time I was learning all of this from like video creators on YouTube, and a lot of them used, wireless lav mics. They use shotgun mics. They use all different types. But within the fitness industry, a lot of people use the fitness microphones that come in front of the mouth. We just stuck to the lav mic because I could kind of keep it down away from Kaylee's mouth a little bit. And then the first one we used was the Rode Wireless Go. It lasted 2 classes, and I think Kaylee's sweat killed it like right away. So we upgraded to a little bit better wireless mic at that point. I think we use the Deity Connect, and we also use a Tascam DR10L, which is a little audio recorder as well. So either one, and I think we've gone through 3 or 4 lav mics. Every once in a while, she'll when she does a stretch, she'll be, saturated in sweat, and she'll do, the chest stretch, and she'll cover the lav mic, and once it gets wet, that's it. So every once in a while, I'll have to stand here and wave my arms like, Kaylee, don't cross your arms.
That's funny. That's a good one. I forgot to throw in there that I'm also a big fan of Sony cameras. And one of the reasons that I went with I have a Sony a6400, was for the autofocus. So I'm sure you had a very similar process when you were looking at cameras to utilize with the show. One of the factors that was high on my list was the autofocus. How quickly can the camera autofocus back on the subject, so that if they're moving with workouts, typically dynamic, that it finds the subject. And from all the YouTube videos that I watched, it was talking about how it's almost alien level in terms of the autofocus that it has, and it's solid. And I mean, some of the other factors that when I was looking at cameras was the HDMI out, so that if you wanted to have a camera or a monitor up, or if you were using it for streaming, those are items that you're going to want to utilize for it. Also for the clean output on it. So there were a handful of items that really made me go with Sony. And both prior to that, I had a Canon DSLR, and I mean, once you get into mirrorless cameras, and I feel like they're very popular right now, they're almost, I think, really pushing out DSLRs that not many people have them anymore. But I mean, now I want another one because they're just so great for the content and the image and the autofocus, all that kind of stuff. And even cameras these days, they're making them specifically for YouTubers, that whether it's the monitor that it can flip around so that people can see it, the way that they can fit into different tripods or gimbals, all that kind of stuff. They're making them for YouTubers. And something I want to point out is that the ways that you are looking at gear for workouts, it's not so much for fitness pros, it's more for the quality of content. And the example that you just talked about, Jason, was the microphone. You're not exactly thinking about, okay, this is what fitness professionals typically wear. You're thinking about, okay, what is going to produce the best quality audio for it? And
Absolutely.
I think that is one of the things that individuals should really think about, is that what is going to produce the best quality audio, video, or lighting, things of that nature. And looking outside of the fitness industry, looking at different examples. I will share that areas that I have gotten really good tips from is actually there's a ton of tutorials for churches that want to stream live, that want to do live streaming.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's how I learned how to do live streaming is watching those same tutorials.
Oh yeah, and there's a ton of them out there, and it's essentially you're just taking the concept and applying it to the fitness industry. So recently you guys started doing live streaming. Can you explain what you had to do to alter your guys' setup and that process for it?
Yeah. The goal was to create a live stream with the same production value as a pre-recorded ride, with multiple camera angles, where Kaylee was right on with the music on cue each time, with the same quality audio. And that was quite a struggle trying to learn that. We probably spent, I don't know, a couple $100 on gear that we actually that wouldn't work or that we couldn't use. So we ended up, working it out, and it's structured a way that's I don't know how I figured it out, but Kaylee's audio is Bluetooth. I have one computer that runs just the Spotify playlist, and then her audio signal is Bluetooth to her, and there's low latency Bluetooth transmitter and headphones that she has to have, where it has like a 30 millisecond lag on it, or latency. So she's not exactly on the beat, but it's pretty unnoticeable. So then, from there we have another monitor where she can see the full broadcast. So she can see what camera angle she's on. She can see whenever I post a something in the chat or a super chat or super sticker, and she can respond accordingly to those. Yeah, and apparently I've worked into that live stream as well. Mm-hmm. I've branded my own Team Jason into that. So nice. That's for all the people that won't get on the bike. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a learning curve, and I guess that's one of the, to go back to the very first question that you asked about the hardest part, is learning by mistakes. And you can learn as much as you can on YouTube. You can learn as much as you can from other niches on YouTube and other creators. But ultimately, when it comes down to it, there's going to be a lot of learning by mistakes.
Yeah, I can definitely feel that. And I mean, in my garage right now, I have a whole box of Amazon gear that I'm going to be returning, and it's about $60 worth of gear, and it's just learning by mistake. It's You do some research, you see, okay, this could work, and this hypothetically should be the solution, but maybe it turns out it isn't. Okay, I'm just going to go return it. And for myself, and getting to a point with the streaming quality of our workouts, it's really something where you're sometimes buying something, knowing that either you're going to have to return it, or knowing that it's an investment, and sometimes having a wish list. Do you have a wish list of things that are on your mind right now?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're planning, our upgrades months out, which we actually got forced into an upgrade a couple of weeks ago unintentionally. But like you said, you have a Sony A6400. We started with the Sony A6400. That was the first camera that we started with.
Nice.
And it just decided it didn't want to make workout videos anymore the other day. So, and it was 2 days before a scheduled live ride. Oh. And we were actually filming another pre-recorded ride. So it was a rush to the electronics store. Actually, I called around a couple of places to get a good quote. But we're moving up from the APS-C sensors to full frame Sony cameras. So we upgraded from the Sony A6400 to a Sony FX3 now. So yeah, but there is a list, and each month is we're going to upgrade something, whether it's lighting or audio or video, or we're going to dive into another part of our creator ecosystem that we're building, or something like that. We actually use Notion. I don't know if you use Notion a lot, but that's our productivity app that we use, and I couldn't recommend it. I couldn't recommend anything else over Notion. That's a really good app for that.
Nice. A question for you that is always one that's asked to me is about finding a camera angle, and the solution that I often give is using a board, so that you can essentially have different angles. Can you explain your process for that with the multi-camera angles, and how you set them up, but also what one you use?
Yeah, so I have the main camera is a wider shot, kind of the establishing shot, and that's so that's kind of the main camera that we use. Our B camera, which is a little bit tighter of a shot, so Kaylee has that more personal connection that she talked about. And then we have a camera on Stella during the sprint, so you can see the bike, and you can see Stella, and Stella has a little comment bubble every once in a while too. So those are the three camera angles that we use, and I don't really know that I just kind of set them up to where I think it's going to be, the proper image. Obviously, the tighter shot, since Kaylee's moving around on the bike a little bit, what I do is I set it up to where she has her like top boundary with her head when she's in second position, and then when she's down in first, I'll just crop in a little bit in post and make her fill the screen. And then, so with that 4K image, you have the ability in post to be able to punch in a little bit and pull back out and not really notice it. So it looks like it's a standard lens, or like a prime lens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of use the rule of thirds and make sure that her eye is in that, top third level, and play around with it from there.
That's cool. That's great. That's one of the first tips also that I give instructors when talking about recording, whether they're doing just a video that they're going to be giving to their clients, putting on YouTube, even social media, is learning your frames, learning the sides of your camera. But I'm also a big fan of getting as much as you can into that frame. The joke that I put into it is I watch a lot of movies, and I'm a big fan of Christopher Nolan and what he does with his movies. And it's always said about how much he likes to put into the frame. So whenever I'm recording something, I want somebody as close as possible. And so sometimes I'm sacrificing the bottom of their feet, or I'm sacrificing their shoes, something that, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter, especially if they're riding a bike, doing a cycling workout. People know what their feet are doing on the bike. You don't need to see that, in my opinion. So I'd
Yeah.
much rather have a camera or a shot of somebody that is close, so you could see those features. You could see how hard they're working,
Yeah.
things that are going to get people like, oh wow, that you could see all their facial features. You could see all these great things, and you're not seeing as much of their their living room or wherever they are. And so I always tell them, get as close as you can, get in tight as you can, find out where the sides of the camera are, the top is. So maybe you have to get on the bike, do a couple of adjustments, see what that top is, just how you said, in second position, where that top is, because those are things that with cameras today, they are so powerful. Even
Yep.
how you mentioned your phone, your iPhone, when you have it in 4K, that it's so powerful that it can pick up all these small details. So why not use it? Why not use the power that you have in your pocket right there? Or if you have a nice camera. So let's go back to a little bit more of the, we'll say, the story of you guys' channel with all this work that you guys are putting into it. And I think I asked Kaylee the same question. When did you kind of think that you have something here, that you guys have a monetized channel, you guys are making some good money off of it? When did you think, okay, this is something that we should invest some more time into?
It was pretty early on, maybe 4 or 5 videos in, when, you know, looking back at it, it doesn't seem like a lot of views, but we were getting 30 or 40 views on each video. And we're thinking like, what, that'll fill like 2 spin studios. What, that's 40 people watching these videos. That's insane. Why are they watching them? And then people start commenting, and we made it a point to respond to every comment that we had. So, and then we started looking at, I don't know if you're familiar with Patrick Hanlon's Primal Branding. If you haven't heard of that book or seen his TED Talk, definitely go look that up. But we started looking into primal branding and how a community is built and what are the aspects that make a brand in the community. And we really doubled down on those. And I think doing that early on is what kind of led to the success of our channel to what it is now, and having that and being community first, where you're not necessarily going into it as a person trying to make money, but you're going there with the intent, like just like Kaylee did. You want to make it for someone else because it's a creative outlet and you enjoy doing it, and you want to build that connection with your community. So, every decision we've made building our creator ecosystem to this point has always started with the community. And I think going back, those first couple of videos, seeing the community and the relationship that Kaylee built with, the first 20 or 30 viewers, it was pretty apparent early on that it had the legs to go.
Nice. Yeah, it's really amazing. And I know I keep saying that if you're listening, go check them out on YouTube, subscribe to their channel, and even go through some of the earlier videos, because you can see the progression, you can see the initial quality that they had, but also I feel like it's motivation for other fit pros. You could see that they started somewhere and they kept improving. All the things that you're talking about now, we have this monthly investment that we want to improve the channel, all these items, you could see that growth. And I think that that's one of the items that some instructors falter with, is that they initially think that I need to have the best workout video, that the first one, that's got to be the best. And with a lot of the instructors that I have with Time to Train, my first, and they might seem that I'm taking it lightly, but I just tell them, you just got to start. You just got to get that process going. You're going to learn so much after that first one. You just got to get that ball rolling, whether it's a on-demand workout or it's a live streaming workout, because I know they're not going to be perfect. It's physically impossible. You and I both know all the technical
Yeah.
items that go into live streaming, and we literally couldn't talk about them all in just one podcast episode, because there's just so many of items that go into
that leads back to something really important there too. And I think one trait that Kaylee has that has caused that growth and that relationship with the viewer is her ability to just kind of mess up and then sit back and make fun of herself.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at the psychology between building a relationship, it starts with the viewer having an emotion or showing emotion, having an emotional connection with the viewer. And comedy, we all love comedy. Comedy is the best way. So if you can make a mistake, sit back and laugh at yourself and just look at the camera and be like, I'm a dummy. Like that was funny. Let's move
Mm-hmm.
on. That's the best way to build that connection with someone.
Oh yeah. It's the realness of somebody, the personality that they have. And it's one of those things that you can sense those things through the camera. You get a sense of what that person is really like. And especially if they're in 4K and you can hear them, you get a good sense of what that person is like.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so with technology these days, and as Jason said, they're in Dubai. And yet I can't tell you how many workouts I've done from them, but I will say that from the workouts that I have done, and with interviewing Kaylee earlier in this week, it's the same person. It's the same person that
absolutely
you're connecting with through YouTube, that she didn't know who I was on the other end when I was taking her workouts, but when interviewing for the podcast, it was the same exact person. And so it's great to hear all these steps that you guys are putting into the channel, and it's the small things, the behind the scenes, but the growth of the channel. And with the evolution of an instructor, even, I can't say enough with making mistakes, learning from them. And I think that that's actually a good trait of an instructor, is that constant looking at what you did. Where can I improve from there? And one of the ones that I always say is just watching your footage, watching what you did. How does it sound? How does it look? And then making adjustments from there, because you learn so much from it. It's not just I hit record and then I'm going to go see what I can do with it after. It's learning from it. With the process that you guys have set up, you have an editing process. I haven't asked yet. Have you done any training with editing before, or has it just been experience and learning?
Yeah, just experience and learning, and taking the time. I think the first videos that we filmed, they seemed to be the most basic, but they took me the longest time to edit.
Yeah.
And when I first started, it took about an hour for each minute of footage from start to finish. So a 45-minute class is going to take, the better part of 45 hours, maybe not 45 hours, but pretty close to it. So 3 days of editing time, basically, to edit that. So now, with the more practice you get and the more experience you get and watching tutorials, you start learning shortcuts and, short keys or whatever. And you start building your own template. So then you can just kind of plug and play. You have the outline of it, you plug and play the graphics as you watch it, and then watch it another time through, make a couple of small tweaks, and then it's out for export. So we've built our system up as time has gone by, but it's still time consuming for sure.
Do you have a editing computer?
Yep. Yeah. So I have an iMac that I use. I started with a MacBook Pro, and it was probably a 4-year-old MacBook Pro at that point. So once we started adding in the multicams, it was slugging down like dial-up internet. So we had to upgrade and get a little more powerful computer at that point. So now, we're running 3-4K cameras, live stream, and multicam 3 multicam clips running through the editor, and it has no problem.
Yeah, that I say. That was one of the biggest steps that really helped my setup, was investing in a computer made for editing. And I'll share that I actually have a much older device, but it's been souped up for it. I have in the community, it's called a 5,1, a Mac Pro. And I mean, the graphics card that's in it and all the RAM, it's stuff that just helps it process all this information. You got to, if you are listening and you're like, I don't know what that is, just imagine 4K footage is big. And especially if it's a 45-minute workout, these are big files. So if you're just going to try and throw this on your regular laptop or your computer that just has stock stuff in it, it's going to lag it down. It's just going to beat it down. And it's something that it's hard to, this is these conversations where when somebody's asking me this kind of stuff for advice, it's hard because this stuff costs money. It costs quite a bit of money, but it's an investment. I will share that. Mine was a little over $1,000. And the reason I got this older model was because it really fascinated me and I wanted to learn how to soup them up myself. And I actually bought another one after and worked on it myself because it's fun and I enjoy that kind of stuff. But if you are in the market and you're like, well, I don't know where to start, something that I could recommend, and I actually have one of them as well, is one of the newer Mac Minis, the chip that has it. And I've seen a handful of videos that it's an entry level. I'm not saying it's going to be phenomenal and be great, but it's something that can be entry level. Do you have any of those entry level items that you could recommend for individuals?
Yeah, no, I kind of follow the Apple new releases and the M1 processor and the Mac Mini. It's a good thing. The Kaylee actually just bought a MacBook Pro because once she launched her strength channel, we realized that one computer, whenever I'm home editing, she can't edit the strength workout. So now we have another editing station now where we can both edit at the same time. So
very cool. Very cool. So we're getting now to the podcast takeaways, and this is a piece for you to share your advice, especially, I can't stress enough for individuals listening, the work that they put into it. It's such high quality to get to that point where you have a monetized channel. It's a lot of work, a lot of hours, and hopefully that's where individuals can really listen and hear all the extra hours that go into other than filming a workout. Just the learning, looking for advice, upgrading, troubleshooting, all these different items. So Jason, what are 3 pieces of advice that you can give someone that is thinking about starting a YouTube channel?
Yeah, that's easy. We could go on and on about this. The first thing is definitely start now. If you haven't started already, just start. You do not have to have the highest tech equipment. As long as you have audio that's consumable, get your phone out and start filming now. The second I would say is don't give up, invest in yourself, find a schedule that works for you to upload and stick to it and just be consistent with it. So it doesn't matter if your schedule is once a month, every month, you better get that upload right away. And don't miss one, because that's that trust that you build with Google and with YouTube that you are going to be there when you say you're going to be there. That's when they start getting, pushing that video out to more people because they know you're going to be there. And then the most important one is don't compare yourself to anyone else. You're going to be different than someone else who's doing the same thing as you. Your vibe is going to attract your tribe. Be you, and don't compare yourself to anyone else. I think that's it.
Those are good. Those are really solid. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard the first one, because it's so true, is just start.
Yeah.
A lot of YouTubers that I've seen that have videos out about how to start your YouTube channel, that's always in there. Just start. And I love that one because I think that a lot of individuals, and I know these instructors, that they get caught up in their head, that it's in their head like, oh my goodness, there's just so much work into it. And they come up with so many excuses of why they haven't started. Just start it.
Yep.
And just grow from there. Just one more piece that I'm going to chime into those on your takeaways is you have your device. You don't need the expensive stuff. In my head, I've always recommended, if you're looking for a place to start, it's usually with audio. And I like how you mentioned audio because you could
absolutely
get microphone. You could get I don't know. I can't really say that how long are they going to last, but they have knockoff versions of really nice microphones. I tend to recommend and utilize the Rode Go a lot, and there's knockoff versions of it. I can't really say how long they're going to last, but they are solid. They're not fantastic, but they're solid.
Yeah.
But that's
people
one of those.
Watch. Yeah. People watch a bad video with good audio before they'll watch a good video with bad audio.
Yeah.
Audio is number one.
Oh yeah. And there's devices that you can connect them to, your iPhones or your smartphones. I know that we've been talking about a lot of Apple stuff, and I joke that I don't know much about Android stuff. And another joke that I usually say is whenever somebody on a Windows-based computer asks me for tips, I just say, can I use a Windows-based computer? Yeah, I can. But it's going to be difficult, and I'm going to be much slower on it. But you can definitely use your iPhone, put it into 4K, get an adapter for a microphone, get a tripod, all these kind of little small things, and you could do it pretty cheap. But
use use the back camera, not the front camera.
There you go.
So just put a mirror on the so you can see the display and use the back camera.
There you go. Jason, before we sign this off, can you give listeners more information on the channel, where to find it, and any information about website, social media?
Yeah, so Kaylee Cohen Cycling and Kaylee Cohen Strength, those are our two YouTube channels. KayleeCohen.com is the website. And Kaylee A. Cohen on Instagram and Kaylee Cohen Fitness on Facebook. And if you have any questions about starting a YouTube channel or growing your creator ecosystem, or even if you just want to talk tech and learn some of the mistakes that we've made along the way, you can email kayleecfitness@gmail.com, and I'll be glad to set up a Zoom call with you and talk you through some things, or however you want to do it. I'm open for all that.
Very generous of you right there. Very generous. And just in case they didn't listen to the first episode, can you spell Kaylee's first name?
Kaleigh.
There we go. Perfect. Jason,
don't misspell your wife's name.
Jason, thank you for coming on the KIPS podcast. I can't tell you enough how much I enjoyed this episode, and it's a topic that I thoroughly enjoy talking about. I can't stress enough for people to utilize it. And I mean, I know that we could have gone on for a lot longer just because of the business aspects of it. But again, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.